This is the Random Cock Radio Podcast. Today's story, The Sound of Silkworms. Written and produced by Trevor Romain. When I close my eyes and think of growing up in South Africa, I think about being a child lying in my bed and listening to the incredible summer thunderstorms. I think about my neighborhood where we played tok-toki and skopti blik and made our own foofie slides in the garden.
Whoa!
When I close my eyes and think about growing up in South Africa, I think of our corner cafes, the place we used to meet and greet and make up and break up. It was the place where you stole at least one piece of licorice, or one of those yellow plastic sherbets with the red lids, or a bag of jelly tots. It was the place where chappies was change, and you ate the inside of the bread while walking home, or riding home on your bicycle. Or you hoped to catch a glimpse of the love of your life. It was the place where your mom found out what random cuck you had been up to from other parents in the neighborhood. It was the place where you got the news and opinions and social commentary, where you put down other schools' rugby or cricket or hockey or netball teams and talked about getting flapped for not doing your homework. It was the place where you learnt swear words in Italian, Portuguese, Greek, Lebanese and Fanagalo, where the cafe owner knew you by name and promised he was going to tell your father what you had done in his shop. It was a place you went if you were lonely and knew you'd find someone there to talk to, where you swapped soccer cards and matchbooks and clapped your dingbat and bought a Coca-Cola or Fanta yo-yo or extra yo-yo strings, where you tried to figure out what the word yo-yo meant, and everyone had a different story depending on which ethnic neighborhood the cafe was in. My grandfather was a farmer in the Free State, and the cafes in little towns across the country like Vredefort, Bethel, Koppies, Springbok, Pofadder, Twee Buffels met een skoot dood Skietfontein, were the central news agency for the farming community. It was the village square, the village green, the hub of the hood, and the place where the village idiots, and I include myself here, hung out. Yeah, the corner cafe, now a distant memory. When I think back, I can still hear the hustle and bustle of the cafe, and the munching of Simba and Willard's chips, and eating a Wall's Eskimo pie. And on a hot day, you could hear the refreshing, hissing sound of a Coke bottle being opened with a bottle opener that was tied to a string at the end of the counter. And I can still hear the sound of the pinball machine in the background, dinging away as the local hooligans shook the machine for all it was worth, and then some. And on the street outside the cafes, in the cities, the red double-decker buses.
Tickets, please. Kaartjies asseblief. Tickets, please. Kaartjies asseblief.
Yeah, there was plenty of shenanigans on those buses when I was a kid. The Clippy, the bus conductor, so named because he would clip your ticket, would get so cross with us when we rang the bell twice for the bus to go. Then we would jump off the bus as it started moving. The Clippy would yell at us as we ran away. One time, on the way home from school, my friend Ronnie jumped, or was pushed, off the bus, and he ran smack bang into the open door of the Atlas bread van that was double parked outside Thelma's Fish and Chips. And talking about high school, how about the matric dance? Oh yes, I can see it in my mind's eye like a movie. I took my date in my very first car, a hand-me-down from my dad. It was a Renault 16, possibly the ugliest car ever designed, and it was yellow. The latch on the front passenger seat was broken, and every time I accelerated, the girl shot forward, and every time I braked, she shot back. I had to drive holding the seat in place with my hand while simultaneously changing gears. Not the romantic start I had hoped for. And no, I didn't score, mainly because she had a tribe of big brothers and I wanted to stay alive. And what about those 16mm movies? I have such vivid memories of going to those movie shops and renting 16mm projectors and hiring cowboy Skopskiet and Dorner movies, also known as spaghetti westerns, which included The Good, the Bad and the Ugly. A fistful of dollars. They call me Trinity. And God Forgives I Don't with Terence Hill and Bud Spencer. Also movies like Paint Your Wagon, Kelly's Heroes, and all the Pink Panther movies, of course.
Susan, kom kyk gou hierso. Hierdie water kan my toekoms voorspel. Hierdie water sê ek gaan binne die volgende paar sekondes 'n poesklap kry. En nou poes, maar hierdie fucking water.
And there was always a
is apparaat,
short
jong.
that came with the movie, like The Big Valley, The Persuaders, The Avengers with John Steed and Emma Peel. Can you remember any others? And then you had the date movies, Romeo and Juliet with the beautiful Olivia Hussey, Love Story with Ryan O'Neal and Ali McGraw, and Jaws, which guaranteed hand-holding. My first movie star crush, Tracy Hyde, acted in the movie Melody with Jack Wilde and Mark Lester. It was so pitiful. I even wrote her a love letter, and believe it or not, she didn't write back. I was heartbroken. She bust up with me before we even started dating. When I close my eyes and think of growing up in South Africa, the memories come flooding back in no particular order or sequence. Like the crazy things we, mainly boys, did, like shoot skyrockets out of glass Coke bottles on our shoulders like bazookas, put our tongues on a 9-volt battery, climb into stormwater drains and caves and jump into swimming pools from roofs, blowing up plastic 2-liter Coke bottles with HGH and J's fluid. Yes, I know, girls don't do such stupid things. When I close my eyes and think of growing up in South Africa, I remember Cobra floor polish on red concrete stoops, the deep blue Transvaal sky in winter, Namaqualand daisies in the Karoo that follow the sun, phone booths with frustrating ticky boxes that never worked, hitchhiking, beer shandies, making shongololos curl up when you touch them with a stick, the smell of Sunlight soap, shops closing at lunchtime on Saturday, Coke or Fanta bottles with holes punched in the lid and used for vinegar at the fish and chip shop, and those bright red Russian sausages that went so well with slop chips, popping blue bottles on the beach with your flip-flops, chasing girls and trying to kiss them in nursery school, getting clapped by the girls in nursery school for trying to kiss them, safari suits with long socks and combs tucked into the sock. My dad wore those and never went on one safari. Brill cream, Alice vans, Chalk 99. If you haven't heard of one, you probably never had one. Knock 3 times on the ceiling if you want me. Tony Orlando and Dawn. Crib notes at school. Pretending to be sick and staying home from school, and the only thing to listen to was Hospitaal Tate on the radio with Esme.
Daar sou lief Alice glimlach vir jou, 'n Hospitaal Tate onthou.
50cc motorcycles with names like Zundup and Lambretta. Going for a drive on Sundays, to nowhere in particular, but landing up at someone's house for tea. For those who grew up in Johannesburg, the Wits rag with all the floats and drommies. Yes, drommies. And the Wits magazine. Calling youngsters pippy jawlers. Making Scooby-Doos at school while trying to hold up your pants because the marbles were so heavy in your pockets. Surprising your pal by frantically pumping a bicycle pump and touching the metal part to the back of his neck when he wasn't watching. This was usually followed by a scream and an "Aina" and the high probability of a punch to the face. But you still did it. Taking your driving test with a high-ranking municipal officer. The old toppy who took me for my driving test had no sense of humor when I asked him if he was poop scared. Peeling Bostik off my fingers. And the sound of silkworms munching on mulberry leaves in a shoebox under my bed, with holes poked in the lid with a yellow ballpoint pen. When I close my eyes and think of growing up in South Africa, I think of my late dad and how he put his arms around me and say, "What a boy." When I close my eyes and think of growing up in South Africa, I smile. and I wipe away the little tear that brings back all those amazing memories.
Op my hart